Wait, let me unmute. There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hunter the Reckoning, Beast of Glenkildove. I'm super excited to be back playing this. I'm sad that the game is short, as I've heard multiple times now, both here and on YouTube. Which, if you miss any of these, of course, you can totally watch them on YouTube. Hope you're having a great week. Jerry's here with the recap from last time. Oh, no, just lurking. No recap from Jerry. That's fine. Don't need a recap. Basically, we went and visited people who maybe perhaps will help us with our hunt, but they're both weird and crazy. One of them is from a place called the Arcanum, and the other ones are, I can't remember where they're from, but they're from like Farga or something like that. And they're like two twins who are super weird and crazy. So that's fun. All of our allies are insane. I love that for us. Oh, and also Daniel, is like in trouble with some guy who's was like run some sort of racket out in Dublin that has to do with Cormac's family, and he's also crazy. So, you know, we're just surrounded by crazies. It's awesome. In addition to having a werewolf or werewolves to hunt. That's great. I love that for us. We're totally not going to die. All right. Chapter 6. I can't really read that. That looks like one of those CAPTCHA things on a website that isn't very good. Something Fergus. I can't really tell what that first word is. Carrick, maybe? But that could be wrong. He gave the little wealth he had to build a house for fools and mad. And he shewed by one satiric touch, no nation wanted it so much. Jonathan Swift. That's lovely. It's a lovely little rhyme. I'm very excited. What does it mean? Kitty is looking at the grainy Wicklow people image in disbelief. Is she one of them? One of the shapeshifters? Claudia shakes her head. I don't think so. There's a lot we don't know about them, but I've never heard that they stay young like that. Oh, yeah. And Claudia went on a rant sort of talking to us about vampires. No, I think we've just met one of the opposition. Daniel's hopeful monsters. Vampire. Kitty, yeah, because one of the women who works for... I'm blanking on his name, on the guy who Daniel owes a lot of money to. The guy who runs the racket in Dublin. He has like an assistant or someone who works with him who is very clearly a vampire. And also he was weird. He like had blood red eyes in the picture and was skinning rats. And she looks exactly like the woman who disappeared in Ballyavon or in Glenkildove like in the 80s, and she doesn't look any different. So they're like, she's a vampire. Which she probably is. Whoopsies. How about I just knock my phone off my desk? Do you actually feel sorry for her, Kitty? If Claudia's right, she's a monster. Hot. I don't get it, says Daniel. She went missing at Glenkildove, like it says in the article. Tottenham said that's like holy ground for werewolves. What do vampires have to do with that? I don't know. Maybe she was spying for the vampires there. However she's involved, we're in deep shit. That's new and exciting for us, says Daniel. Rots, vampires are really bad news. Rots, I love that. There's a lot of contradictory stuff about them online, but everyone agrees that they're fast, strong, rich, powerful, well-connected, and really, really hard to kill. They don't just drink your blood. They can empty your bank account, cancel your driver's license, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that on Twitch because I'm not looking to get the company I work for's Twitch channel banned. They put that on your laptop and have you flagged as that with Interpol. They can also rip off your head with their bare hands and gulp down the arterial blood spray like water from a drinking fountain. That's colorful. Thank you. I like to think of myself as something of a wizard with words. Isn't there anything we can do? Asks Kitty. Claudia nods. There's just one way of defending yourself against rots that's any fucking good at all, and that's information. We need to do research. They aren't like the shapeshifters. They can't live off the grid like them in places like the Wicklow Mountains. They need humans as food and as servants. They need money. They need information. That means they leave a paper trail. Financial transactions, property ownership transfer, creation of false identities every 70 years or so. It's getting harder to do those things secretly. It makes them more vulnerable than they were before. Daniel nods soberly. You remember the suspicions about Luca Corliss, right? Yeah, that he confided in you on Sunday. Yeah, that's, I believe, a character from the Parliament of Knives. You know he is thinking about her now. They know, of course, from what I've heard, there were a ton of leaks throughout the noughties. Is that supposed to be like the 2000s? Feeding grounds, flight plans, hideouts, weaknesses, bank accounts, properties. I think some of the leaks actually came from other vampires doxing their enemies. Anyway, it was happy hunting time for people like Sister Judith and friends, but there hasn't been all that much since then, and anything of real value that does get leaked gets scrubbed from the internet within minutes. The general consensus is that the rots have wised up and gone into a tech blackout. It puts both sides in the dark, and the rots like the dark. So what good is it trying to search for information on them? They're good, but they're not perfect. Smart hunters learn to use code words to talk about certain things to avoid setting off the alerts that the rot's online algorithms have. Open source intelligence is the name of the game, with satellite feeds, CCTV footage, database dumps, social media, and all the rest of the internet. There's a huge amount of data out there. Set thousands of hunters combing through it and comparing notes, and you're bound to strike gold sooner or later. As careful as the rots try to be, the night has 1,000 eyes, you know what I'm saying? But it's not quite as simple as that. For start, OSINT's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. I don't know what that's supposed to stand for. There's no structure, no hierarchy, and no bar to entry, so the rot's agents and bot networks are constantly pumping out misinformation and propaganda. You have to learn to recognize them and kind of tune them out. Then there's the idiots. The idiots? I love it. Hello, Thorfinn. Welcome in. White supremacist militias, hunter wannabe fantasists, conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, Jesus freaks. No offense, Kitty. A lot of them were just people who had something scary happen to them, something they couldn't explain. They looked for answers online, and the cunts on the low-key forums or wherever convinced them that it was those people or the devil or ancient aliens. The low-key forums? Asked Kitty. A fucking cesspit even by the standards of the internet, smirking those people who hate women almost as much as they love anime and racial slurs. My guess is that their leaders, people like the late Greg Halden in Arizona, have been in the rot's pockets for years. All the racism and anti-Semitism, all the misogyny and bizarre conspiracy theory memes provide a useful smokescreen for the real monsters. They're not fans of Cahoots or my podcast. I must wait through like 50 these types of threats from them a week. This is difficult. You know, it's so funny. This has been like the most, I think, in a Choice of Games where I have to like just like say this word or just skip over the word. That happens a lot when I read these because, you know, filters and like picking out words and stuff. This sort of the way that they have things set up now on YouTube and Twitch is better than it's ever been, and it's more aggressive than it's ever been, and you have to be really, really careful. So don't mind that I'm doing that. If you want to know what word I mean, it's right here. Just read along. I'm so sorry. Claudia has been typing frantically while she talks, glancing at you and the others in between looking at her screen. Claudia, says Kitty, you don't mean you're going to do research now. It's already late and we're looking at a murder scene tomorrow morning. You need rest. We all need rest. Right, yeah, someone was murdered that worked with the racket running guy. Yes, of course, and he thinks Cormac had something to do with it, or one of the beasts from that are related to the O'Donnells. He believes the O'Donnells are all shape-shifting witches. Yes, of course I mean now, and all of you need to help, Claudia says. Haven't you been listening? Every second counts when you're dealing with a rot. Whatever Noriko has planned for us, we're going to need all the information we can get. Noriko is the woman who they think is a vampire. There'll be something we can use against her, some weakness or secret that will give us a little bit of an edge or a bargaining chip, but we need it now, right now, and the more eyes on this, the better. Noriko doesn't know that we know, Kitty points out. It seems like for the moment, we're doing what she wants. The only way that could change is if we get her attention by trying to find stuff out about her online. We might just put ourselves in much greater danger that way, and I don't want to be dealing with all this head-wrecking stuff tomorrow on no sleep. It is clear that Claudia won't budge, but Daniel is in agreement with Kitty. What will you do? I agree with them. Not Claudia, because I want to go to bed. Hi, Tia. Welcome. Hello. It's so lovely to see you. Daniel has set up a makeshift bed for you in the upstairs den, putting sheets, a pillow, and a duvet cover over the sofa there. You undress and climb underneath the covers. You are asleep almost as soon as your head touches the pillow, too exhausted for dreams. The next thing you are aware of is the insistent, tinny bleep of your alarm. It feels all too soon. God, relatable. After washing and getting dressed, you descend to the sitting room. Daniel and Kitty are sitting on the terrace outside, mugs of coffee in their hands. Claudia is hunched over her laptop in the same clothes she was wearing the night before. From the dark circles under her eyes, it is clear that she has been working all night. She gives you a baleful look. I didn't find anything. Maybe if I'd had a little help. Or maybe we'd all be exhausted and not just you. Claudia mutters something inaudible under her breath. Meh, too bad, so sad. Seeing that you are awake, Daniel and Kitty come inside. You are about to open the topic of today's investigation when Deco swaggers in through the door, Ray following behind him like a burly, broad-shouldered shadow. Morning all, Deco says cheerfully, ready to crack some crackhead heads together? Right, I believe Deco and, what's the other one? Deco and Ray hold hands and skip around together. I believe that they're lovers. They're like two thugs from the racket guy. How'd you get in? Asked Daniel. Deco winks at him. Ah, now, Danny boy, we go around telling people professional secrets like that. Where's our fucking livelihood gone? But thief to thief, I will tell you this much. Them electronic security systems ain't all they're cracked up to be. Nice strong padlock and a deadbolt, that'll keep out scary fuckers like me and Ray better than some fancy bells and whistles shite from Sunburst or Mills. End of the day, those cunts are more interested in spying on you than they are keeping you safe. Surveillance capitalism, Ray says morosely. Seems like you're in a poor position to point fingers. How'd you figure? Tech companies, they're in the smack business too. They want to get their customers addicted to their product, and they don't care how badly it fucks them in the head. The difference is mainly they're a bunch of mice who hide behind lawyers instead of going toe-to-toe on the street for their turf like we do. Yeah, sure is a topsy-turvy world all right, Deco, says Claudia, rolling her eyes. Soon you are on your way. Claudia barely able to stay awake. Hello, welcome in. Sheriff Street isn't very far from the IFSC. Is what? Oh man, I think that's the place with the crazy twins. It's hard to remember all these places. Honestly, it's hard to keep in my head. But the contrast that the journey there presents is immediate and striking. The gleaming skyscrapers and office buildings of Daniel's neighborhood are quickly replaced by rundown terrace houses, many of them boarded up or with jagged, gaping holes where window panes have been shattered. Tied-up pairs of shoes have been slung over telephone wires every so often, indicating the presence of a crack house. Kitty sighs. Sorry. Ever notice that none of the... Kitty just gets on my nerves. I don't know why. Ever notice that none of the money coming into Dublin these days ever seems to make it very far north of the Liffey? She asks. Deco shrugs. Not really. Sure, I'm doing grand. Not that I spend much time on the street myself these days. He adds, meaning Sheriff Street. Nice to know, mutters Daniel. Deco frowns, ignoring him. That's part of what has me poor old brain so confused about this, actually. What was Frankie doing here at that homeless shelter? Well, he was a drug dealer, so maybe he was dealing drugs? Asked Claudia. Nah, the Duffys don't deal at Agnieszka's shelter. She don't allow drugs there. She tries to get everyone who stays there off the brown and the white. Claudia looks incredulous. And you go along with that? Sure, the Duffy brothers are the main reason her shelter's still around. They're its main donors, even now they live in fucking Dubai. They like to do a bit of good in the community, like. Hearts and minds, adds Ray. I wouldn't have thought, says Kitty slowly, that drug dealers would want to support a shelter that was trying to help people beat their addictions. Deco grins. That's just it, though. Trying. We're talking junkies here, after all. Maybe 1 in 10,000 is ever going to be able to quit. And goodbye and good luck to them. We get hundreds more new customers every week. Nah, the only thing Agnieszka's shelter is doing is keeping these sorry cunts alive for a few more years. And that's a few more years of profit for us. This is horrifically dystopian. I can only hope that shelter does more to help people than Deco claims. The normally impassive Claudia looks equally dismayed and disgusted. You're a psychopath, she tells Deco. You know Claudia well enough to understand her reaction. Her own work, taking on the unseen monsters of this world, must seem like a similarly quixotic crusade. You wonder how often she has asked herself if there is any point at all to the sacrifices she has made to keep it going. She gives an amused smirk. Me? I didn't put a gun to anyone's head and make them take crack. The only psycho here is the fucker who killed Frankie Dwyer. He had 2 kids, did Frankie. He was a nice fella, and some sick fucker tore him apart. Maybe 8 parts of him too, from what I hear. Whatever or whoever did it, when you find them, let me know. Ray and me will be there with fucking Uzis. I'd like to see that, Claudia comments. That would be interesting. Deco looks at her, but can make nothing of her impassive face. The shelter is just another terrace house, although better maintained than most on the street. A section of pavement in front of it is still marked off with fluttering police tape, marking the place where Cormac murdered Frankie Dwyer. The shelter is only just now being opened up by its volunteer staff, a balding middle-aged man. Why would he leave so far from Glenkildove, go all the way to fucking Dublin? Deco pushes past him as he opens up the door. The volunteer looks up to protest, but a glare from Ray silences him. This is why I wanted to get here early, Deco says, as you stand in a battered waiting room area lit by dully glowing ceiling lights. The seating is cheap, mismatched plastic chairs, flyers for anti-drug hotlines, and addiction programs are distributed around the room and pinned up to the cork notice board. Agnieszka doesn't get here for a couple of hours, gives you some time to ask questions around here without her. You know what I mean? Kitty frowns. Why would we want to question the people here without Agnieszka around? I've been here before. Those fucking junkies feel safe when she's there, Deco says. He smiles. Maybe they'll talk more when they don't feel so safe. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'm way over my depth here. Deco squints at you. Can't figure you out, he says. Still not sure why Mike's bringing you in for this. I don't know, because he's insane, like everyone else who wants to associate with us? You move through the shelter, splitting up to question its residents, but you meet with little success. The nature of this place means that it has a transient population, many people just staying for a night or two before moving on. Even those who may have been around on the day of Frankie Dwyer's murder are unwilling to admit it. They are evidently fearful of getting involved in police inquiries or Northside gang wars. But at last, in one of the communal areas, you find one who is willing to talk. He is an old man, but he sits straight-backed in his chair, and he has taken obvious care with his appearance. He has shaved, he has brushed his curly iron gray hair, he has ironed his threadbare clothes and polished his shoes. Hiccup. When he looks at you, there is a brightness to his eyes. Finbar, he says, extending a calloused hand. You and your friends, the ones asking about young Cormac and the to-do with the drug dealer last week. Controlling your surprise at the mention of Cormac's name, you simply nod. Cormac would stay here every so often. He never gave no last name. People don't ask for them around here. Nearly got himself kicked out a few times, starting fights and whatnot. But Agnieszka had a soft spot for him and always let him back in. She's a good woman, that one. Helped me knock the drink on the head. It cost me my home and my family, but I'm sober now, 3 years, praise be to God. But you wanted to know about Cormac. Like I said, Agnieszka liked him. He'd play the fiddle in the evening sometimes. I'd join him on the tin whistle sometimes. He used to like to sing that old song, Carrickfergus. So it was Carrick, I was correct. You know, I wish I was in Carrickfergus only for nights in Ballygrand. No, I'm sorry, I don't know that song. I'm too American to know that song. I interrupt. Did Cormac say anything about where he came from? Did he ever mention the name Simon Fox? Who's dead? Poor Simon Fox is dead. It's a good song? I hope so. I'll have to look it up. I've never heard of it. Finbar shakes his head. He never did talk very much. The old man sighs. Kitty has come in while the two of you have been talking, and she stands there listening quietly to the two of you. Cormac was a wild one. It was easy to see that from his eyes, but over the past 3, maybe 4 years, he'd calmed down, you know, that way. Staying away from the drink and the drugs, stopped starting fights. He was getting work, picking fruit and busking in the market towns up north or crossing over to Liverpool to work on the building sites. Lord forgive me, I'm not sorry for that peddler of poison he killed, but I am sorry that Cormac did it. If it weren't for that happening, I think he might have been all right, you know? Tell me about the fight between Cormac and Frankie. I didn't see it myself. I was out, but that evening it's all anyone could talk about. They say Cormac ripped the lad to shreds. To shreds, you say. But you know how people talk. Cormac had a temper on him. Everyone knew, and he knew that your man had been threatening Agnieszka. He was trying to protect her. He just hit him a bit too hard is all. What do you mean? Kitty asks. How do you know Frankie Dwyer, the dealer, was threatening Agnieszka? Threatening her with what? But Finbar seems to have regret having let that slip. I'm sorry, he says. I'm just an old man and I ramble on sometimes. I don't know what I'm talking about. Best that you talk to Agnieszka about all this. He will say no more. Great. Back in the waiting room, Agnieszka herself has arrived. A short, slight woman with silver gray hair, she carries herself with ramrod discipline. Ramrod. There is a little warmth in her gaze as she looks at you. We want to talk about, Daniel begins, but Agnieszka cuts him off. I can guess, she says, a Polish accent tinting her voice. I can't do a Polish accent. Get out, star in here. I know Ray and Deco. You are with them? Then you must be criminals or friends of criminals. I have already told police everything about Frankie Dwyer. Just thought we might jog your memory, says Deco cheerfully. You never know when something might shake loose if you catch my drift. No. Now leave. I need to go again shortly, and I will not have drug dealers in my shelter when I am not. Please. I need to talk to you about Cormac. Agnieszka ignores you. Nice. Well, hustling you out. Somewhat to your surprise, Deco and Ray accept this. Deco turns to you on the street outside. Whatever you do, you're not going to get very far with us around. We're taking off now. You see what you can find out and text me if you learn anything. Once they've gone, you consider your options. Claudia reports that she tried to get into Agnieszka's office while you were exploring and was surprised to find it locked with a high-tech digital lock, not something she expected to see inside a North Dublin homeless shelter. Whatever Agnieszka is hiding in there, it might have some bearing on Frankie Dwyer's murder. You could wait for her to leave and try and break in. Then again, where is she going to go so soon after getting here? It might be worth following her instead. Kitty has another suggestion. Ever since Deco told us that the Duffy brothers are the ones funding this shelter, I've been wondering, what if we could persuade Fada to fund it instead? With the creepy twins, do we have to go see the creepy twins again? It would get her off the hook that the Duffys have on her. She might be willing to talk to us then. Daniel frowns. Would Fada go for it, though? Do you think that we have that kind of pull with them? One other possibility has occurred to you. There was a gleam of longing in Finbar's eyes when he talked about his drinking days. Ooh, that's terrible. That's so bad. However far he's come, you suspect that if you got your hands on some alcohol, he says he's been sober for 3 years. I can't do that to him. You'd be able to push him into a relapse. That's so awful. Should maybe do that one. And once you got him drunk, it would be easy to find out the truth about Frankie Dwyer's visit to the shelter. Oh, that's so awful. Hello, welcome in. Oh no. I'm gonna do it though. That's the worst one, and that's the one I'm gonna do because I'm a bad person. I will buy some whiskey, then push Finbar into drinking it and interrogate him. I'm the worst. I'm going to hell. Or Liam is, not me. Maybe me too. Who knows? I guess I'll find out. There is little off-license, a corner shop that sells alcohol across the street from the shelter. Parting ways with the others who are going back to Daniel's flat to discuss your next move, you buy a couple of naggins or 200 milliliter bottles of blended whiskey. Then you return to the shelter and find Finbar in the common area. He smiles at you. Welcome back. The blood drains from his face as you take out one of the whiskey naggins and put it on the coffee table in front of you. Taking one of the shelter's cardboard coffee cups, you splash a generous portion of whiskey into it. Drink? No, Finbar says. Sure, you know I quit the drink. Not a drop in 3 years. 3 years. Well, I'd say that means you've earned a drink, wouldn't you? I'm a bad person. Finbar fights it, but in the end, he snatches the cup away, and from there, you know you have him. Anything for the job. You're playing this way different. In general, if you're watching me play any of the Choice of Games games, the only sort of like rule, I don't even know, I stick to is I tend to pick the worst. Like if I look at the list of options, it's not just like dialogue. If I look at the list of options and there's a worst option, like a very obvious worst option, that's the one I'm going to pick most of the time. Because I think that makes it fun and interesting. And I think it's, you know, it's less likely that people do that so they can see me do it and see me fail and be bad and be naughty. Finbar fights it, but in the end, he snatches the cup away, and from there, you know you have him. He drinks greedily, and all you need to do is keep refilling the cup, switching to the second naggin after the first is drained. Finbar's face flushes red as he drinks, his straight-backed posture gradually turning to a slump. He loosens his collar, his eyes glassy. You direct the conversation back to Agnieszka and Frankie Dwyer's death. Him? Oh yeah, that fucking dealer, Finbar slurs. Bet he got a fucking surprise when young Cormac jumped him. He looks at you. Now, I don't know that guy. How that guy, Frankie Dwyer, found out about Agnieszka. He struggles unsuccessfully to pronounce her name and finally gives up. About your one's little pill problem. Sure, she was only skimming off the top, you know, but anyone but the Duffys would have let it go. I don't care myself, but eventually, as he makes his way through the second naggin, you get the full story out of him. It seems that Agnieszka is addicted to opioids and buys prescription painkillers from a crooked doctor at the Mater, a North Dublin hospital. She pays for her habit by embezzling, stealing from the money the Duffy brothers give to her shelter. Frankie Dwyer must have found this out and come to the shelter to confront her about it. Cormac followed him outside, and the subsequent argument turned violent, resulting in Frankie's death. What? See, was that so hard? Why not just tell me that? I didn't have to make you break your sobriety. Just tell me to start with. Oh my god. From what Finbar says, Agnieszka's habit and how she pays for it are common knowledge among long-term shelter residents, Cormac among them. Finbar at least doesn't seem to resent her for it, even though the money for it comes out of the shelter's funding. As he sees it, Agnieszka is still doing good work and helping others. Truly, honey, was... Yeah. So, like, if I was playing by myself, I probably would be nice. Like, and I would play, like, how Huddy would play. But yes, as Jerry says, truly Huddy is the real monster. That's me. I played the monster. Not even, like, when I played the last game, A Book of Hungry Names, basically Sierra was just the most, ineffectual werewolf ever. Like, she was just, like, so out of her depth all the time. I always picked the options that were so out of left field because I thought it was funny. And I got, like, 3 or 4 people killed. It was great. At least she cares, you know, Finbar says. His eyes are bloodshot now. He grabs the empty second naggin and upends it, hopefully over the mug. This is the north side. You don't get too many angels around here. Nope. No, certainly not. Oh no. Finbar! It is Agnieszka. She is standing in the common room doorway, staring at the empty whiskey bottles in dismay. You know the rules, she says. Out. Now. Ah, you're one to talk, you fucking pillhead, Finbar mutters, whose mood has soured. Agnieszka turns to you. And you know what you've done? Finbar was sober 3 years. Ah, I know about the pills, Agnieszka. Finbar told me. Unless you tell me the truth about Cormac, I'll tell Mike Duffy. Her face crumbles. Finbar gives a rough laugh. Come up to my office, she tells you quietly. We should talk. She leads you upstairs to the shabby office from which she runs the shelter. Whoopsies. Ah. Why did you make me be a monster? Yes, Sierra was... Yes. Sierra was chaotic dumb. Correct. No, you don't... It's not you who's the monster. It's me who's the monster. You just living a monster's life vicariously through me. Through my gameplay. Don't worry about it. Agnieszka seats herself in an uncomfortable-looking plastic chair and begins to talk. She confirms your suspicions. Thanks to a shelter inmate who had been expelled for smuggling in marijuana, Frankie Dwyer found out about her pill habit and how she was paying for it. He came over to try and force her to allow him to sell crack to residents at the shelter, threatening her with exposure to the Duffys. She refused, unwilling to compromise her charge's struggle against addiction, and he left, swearing to go straight to Michael Duffy. Cormac, who was staying at the shelter at the time, overheard the last part and followed Frankie Dwyer outside. She doesn't know exactly what happened next, but you can fill in the blanks. Cormac must have transformed into his beast form and tore Frankie apart the same way he killed Simon 8 years ago. He must have called you in London very soon afterwards, right? That's at the very beginning of the game. Cormac would have done anything to protect me, Agnieszka says a little sadly. He feels he owes me. It seems that 4 years ago, Cormac was a new resident of the shelter. He became close with another resident, a girl called Alia, who was the daughter of Iraqi refugees. After their short and volatile relationship had run its course, Alia learned that she was pregnant. They were in no position to raise a child themselves, but Alia was estranged from her conservative Muslim parents, and both Cormac and Alia were horrified at the idea of the child growing up in Dublin's notorious foster care system. Cormac mentioned somebody who might be able to look after the child, an old family friend who lived in the countryside. It was Agnieszka who managed everything, pulling strings and filling out paperwork to arrange matters. The child, a little girl, was born in Dublin's Rotunda Hospital, and soon after, the family friend showed up to collect her. It was Cormac who named her, Agnieszka says quietly. He held her for a long time, so I thought he might never let her go and gave her her name. He called her Neve. Neve is a little girl that our aunt has. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, it's all coming together, people. This is it. All the pieces are falling together. Your mind flashes back to your awakening at the Wolf's Head a week ago. Bright brown eyes, a freckled face, a shy grin that came and went like summer lightning. Little Neve, Cormac's daughter. What is your first reaction? Why would I be angry? Why would I be angry? Oh. No, I have to pick this one. Despite everything. I feel irrationally jealous that Cormac had a child with someone else. I mean, either way, Liam's a boy. The character I'm playing is a boy. And we did kiss Cormac, that's true. We did a lot of heavy kissing, hard kissing. But even though, so we'd probably have to adopt or, have a surrogate. So, it's a weird thing to be jealous of, but I'm going to pick that one. I'm irrational. That's the whole story, says Agnieszka hopelessly. Now what are you going to do? Be irrational, apparently. You consider, what will you do with what you have learned about Agnieszka's activities? I'm probably going to tell the Duffies. I'm probably going to tell them because they're going to find out anyway. And I'm trying to get Daniel out of his issue that he has with them. So I'm going to tell them. That's also probably a really terrible decision. It's probably a really terrible decision. But I'm going to do it anyway. Because that's how I play. Agnieszka's only reply from you is a bleak shake of her head. Stepping outside, you give Deco a call and explain what you have found out about Agnieszka's pill habit and how it led to Frankie's death at Cormac's hands. Deco chuckles. So she's a pillhead? That actually makes me like her a little more. A little more, mind. I'm still gonna fucking ruin her for what her little pal did to Frankie. That's good work, Liam. I understand now why Mike Duffy wanted you. Now it's time for you to meet Daniel and the others back at the flat. And it's also because I'm irrationally jealous and Cormac liked her and I'm just lashing out, obviously. So stupid. Sorry, hang on. Messages are just flashing every time I'm streaming. Returning to the flat, you gather the others together and tell them what you have learned. You leave out the details of how you pried the information out of Finbar. I got him drunk. You know that Kitty at least isn't yet prepared for how ugly information gathering on the hunt can get. Neve? Gasped Kitty. Oh my god. Claudia is nodding thoughtfully, already recovering from her shock. Yes, I should have seen it earlier. She looks like him. She's his daughter, all right. Daniel is looking at Claudia. And what does that mean for you, Claudia? What do you mean? What does it mean for me? Daniel's mouth twists. Don't play that game, Claudia. We've all come to know each other very well over the last few days. You and me and Kitty and Liam. I know how you think. You're already trying to figure out a way to use that little girl in the hunt, aren't you? Perfect. I love it. Let's do it. Trying to figure out a way to get Cormac to break cover. I won't go along with it, and you know Kitty won't either. I'm not a very good person, but I'm not going to put a kid in danger for your crusade. Claudia shakes her head. Daniel Aoun taking a moral stance. Maybe these really are the last days. For the record, I'm not proposing we put Neve in any danger at all. But we know her connection to Cormac. He's watching over her in some way. I'd bet my life on it. We just take advantage of that. All right, calm down, everybody. Calm down, everybody. Let's not make any rash decisions yet. And if anyone's going to be making rash decisions, it's going to be me, not Claudia. All right? There's always a lot we don't know, says Daniel, but there are a lot of lines we don't cross. Claudia scowls. Spare me. You've been in the hunt less than a week. Talk to me about moral red lines after you've been doing this shit for 5 years, assuming you're still alive. It is late afternoon now, and the sour feelings provoked by the latest arguments still linger. Everyone mutually seems to agree that you all need to separate and take some downtime to allow tempers to cool. Ooh. What will you do with your evening in Dublin? It is possible to lower your desperation by reducing your stress and relaxing. Meh. Lower desperation means that it'll be easier to sleep. You won't suffer from sleep loss penalties and other problems caused by high desperation. I almost said high depression. That would be like mood. Nah. On the other hand, a low desperation means you'll see fewer desperate measures options. Yeah, I don't want that. I need a gun. I'm going to... I'm going to take Tottenham's suggestion and contact Trina Heller, whom he suggested could tell us more about shapeshifters we're hunting. Ooh, yeah, that one. That's the one. Because I think the book that he mentioned is actually a book that's mentioned in Out for Blood, I think. I love that all the references to the other Choice of games. It's awesome. That's what I'm going to do. You send an email to the address that Tottenham gave you. Half an hour later, you receive a reply from Trina Heller suggesting a video call. You accept, and a few minutes later, her call comes through. Next. Trina Heller is seated outdoors at a table spread with red and white checkered cloth. I can't read. A carafe and glass both filled with dark red wine in front of her. It is already late evening in Italy, and a spectacular sunset illuminates the scene behind her. Row upon row of lush terraced vineyards climbing up a steep hill, crowned with the skyline of a walled town and church. Trina herself is a tall, slim woman with a Mediterranean complexion and straight, smooth, dark hair framing her angular, impassive face. She's wearing shades and casually elegant clothes, a white silk shirt, a diamond necklace, a slim-fitting burgundy jacket, and black leather trousers. She waits for you to speak. Recapping your email, you introduce yourself and refer to your conversation with Tottenham. She gives a slight inclination of her head. I see. And you want to know about the shapeshifters. Why? What do you want with them? Her slight accent is hard to place. Well, so is mine because it's fake. Somebody I knew has become one, or perhaps he always was one. I want to help him and have my own babies with him. Stupid. Trina inclines her head. What form would this help take? If you mean that you wished for your friend to become human again, that can never be. I think you're right. I think he was never human, even though he may have believed himself to be. To speak candidly, the best help that you can give him is to allow him, even force him, to seek out his own kind. They will be able to train him and give him the knowledge that he needs. That would mean never seeing him again, wouldn't it? And no babies. Trina nods. Yes, I will not give you any sweet lies on that account. Helping your friend will most likely mean saying goodbye to him forever. Where he is going, where he must go, you can never follow. Trina takes a sip of her wine. Not bad, she comments. I wish I could offer you some. Conversation is easier over wine, don't you think? This is 2021's vintage. The grapes from my first year here in Tuscany. It made me happy to feel them plump and ripe and sun-warmed under my fingers when they were first picked. It has been hard up until then. She tells her story in the same relaxed, almost casual tone. She had been in the U.S. in 2019, recruiting hardy, resourceful, and curious neophytes. And right, this is like a pseudo hedge mage or possibly mages type thing that they got going on here. Neophytes and associates for an expedition to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Trina's study of the shapeshifters had led her to the conclusion that a vital clue to their origins were hidden among the ruins beneath the rainforest canopy there. After her team arrived in Mexico, Trina heard talk of a sacred cave at the top of a waterfall near the source of a river in one of the most remote and inaccessible parts of the peninsula. Sometimes shamans or those who wish to become shamans would make the perilous journey upriver to sleep and dream in the sacred cave. Sometimes they returned and performed mighty deeds. Sometimes they did not return at all. I went there, Trina says. We had the boat with an outboard motor and we went upstream as far as we could. I left the others to make camp by the pool and I climbed up to the top of the waterfall. I found the cave which they spoke of. They had prepared a hallucinogenic brew for me and taught me how to purify my body. I drank it down and I laid down on the stone. Trina pauses for a long time. She is so still and so quiet that you wonder for a moment if your connection has frozen, but then at last she speaks. I cannot speak of the things I saw that night. It is forbidden to me, but I could not stay in any case. Or I could not in any case, rather. There are no words in English or any other language for what I saw. I saw things I should not have seen. At dawn, a jaguar came into the cave. She lowers her sunglasses and you see the scarred hollows where her eyes have been clawed out. Its silhouette with the rising sun behind it was the last thing I was ever to see. Well, I didn't expect that line. I didn't expect to read that. And that's when the jaguar clawed out my eyes. Trina sighs. It could have... It could have killed me, I'm aware of that. It was showing mercy of a sort, perhaps born of respect, perhaps of contempt. I've often wondered if I had seen its human face before that night. If it was one of the elders, one of the guides, one of the porters. But what difference does it make? I knew that I could never publish my research. I didn't want to anymore anyway. The Arcanum makes a game out of forbidden knowledge, a dangerous game, but a game nonetheless. I'd lost my appetite for it. I came here. I like the smell of Tuscany. I like the warmth of the soil beneath my bare feet. I like to hear the sounds of the church bell from the town. I like to listen to the gossip in the square. About the vineyard, we make fine wine. At times I wake up in the night. I might imagine I hear padded velvet claws coming nearer. I scream, as who wouldn't, but I live alone, so nobody else is inconvenienced. She pushes her sunglasses back up on her face, and Liam's face is like this. My advice to you is to leave all of this behind and buy a vineyard. I mean, I'm down. The screen goes blank. Trina has broken the connection. While you have been talking, the sun has set here in Dublin as well. You feel restless and descend to the streets for a brisk walk, turning over what she told you in your mind, and be haunted by her hollow eye holes. Full darkness is set in by the time you return to the penthouse. Jesus Christ. You have just crossed over the threshold of Daniel's apartment where the others are waiting when your phone rings. It is Professor Tottenham, the Arcanum's Dublin Chancellor. Oh, goody. I can't wait to talk to him again. I have some rather interesting news, he says. Tell me, are you familiar with the colorful life and times of Jonathan Mad Jack Dunbar? You put the phone on speaker so that the others can hear. You remember Simon talking about Mad Jack Dunbar soon after you first came to Ireland. Tottenham reminds you of the details. Mad Jack Dunbar was an Anglo-Irish peer who owned land in Wicklow in the 18th century. He was known as a libertine and a rake and founded one of the period's most notorious hellfire clubs. His was called the Sons of Perdition. They were rumored to practice orgiastic rites in honor of their patron demon, the idol Succoth Benoth, Molag Bal, at Dunbar's hunting lodge in the Wicklow Mountains. That hunting lodge is now the Wolf's Head, the inn which your aunt runs. Dunbar was also a keen, almost obsessive hunter of wolves. He is popularly held responsible for the killing of the last wolf in Ireland at Glenkildove in 1785. In fact, Tottenham says, who wants to hear a story of how cornmeal came to be? Mad Jack's real prey was not wolves, but werewolves. We believe him to have been one of history's most prolific and expert hunters of shapeshifters. An exceedingly dangerous vocation, we believe that he and his fellow hunters virtually eradicated their presence from the Wicklow Mountains, hunting down and killing any that they could find. I feel sick. It sounds like a slaughter, and he sounds like a monster. Perhaps, says Tottenham. As yet, we know little of his motives, but that may be about to change. Tottenham explains that Dunbar, who was killed in a hunting accident in 1797, left behind family. One direct descendant was a dissolute young aristocrat in the 1960s named Ralph Fleming Dunbar. Fleming Dunbar was fascinated by the stories of his distant ancestors' dabblings in Satanism and black magic. Who wouldn't be? While pursuing a never-finished classics degree at Trinity College, he became involved with the Arcanum and joined as a neophyte, only to be kicked out soon afterwards due to what Tottenham will only primarily describe as vicious and sordid behavior. At this time, Fleming Dunbar's parents also lost patience with his frequent brushes with scandal and the law and cut him off from his funds. Fleming Dunbar disappeared along what was then called the Hippie Trail, living at different times in Tangiers, Istanbul, Mumbai, Kathmandu, Bangkok. But he returned in the mid-70s after the sudden death at sea of both his parents, to claim the ancestral home of Maiden Hill in County Louth. He gained a reputation in the press, particularly among conservative Irish newspapers, as a rake and a playboy, known for his passions and for shooting, fox hunting, as well as big game hunting in Africa, gambling, horses, drinking, and rare books. The whole bloodline, get rid of the whole bloodline. He even announced a new incarnation of his ancestors' Hellfire Club. I knew that was coming. The Sons of Perdition, renamed the Children of Perdition. Gross. For 10 years or so, rumors of orgies and satanic rites at Maiden Hill swirled through the grey conservative society of 1980s Ireland, although the cult has long since fallen apart and all those involved other than Fleming Dunbar have moved on. But Fleming Dunbar is an old man now, and he has long since burned through his parents' inheritance in order to pay for his living expenses and medical bills. Fleming Dunbar has announced... Is that Finbar? Is that Finbar? Because the combining an F and the... Okay. Announced what he intends to auction off the house's extensive library, including Mad Jack Dunbar's journal, which nobody but he has ever read. Fascinating. Yeah, accident. Yeah, I called on Satan to sink their boat. God. It is clear that the journal would be of great value to us, Tottenham says. No other human being learned about the Wicklow shapeshifters than Dunbar. This journal contains vital information. Unfortunately, Mr. Fleming Dunbar still holds a grudge against the Arcanum after his expulsion from our organization in 1963. He will not consider letting us bid on the journal, no matter how much we offer. This is where you come in. Would you like to contact Mr. Fleming Dunbar, travel to Maiden Hill, and make an offer for the journal on behalf of an anonymous bidder? The Arcanum will bankroll your bid if you cannot obtain the journal legitimately. Well, naturally, I'm not suggesting you do anything illegal, but you know how important this text is to all of us. You can see Tottenham's point. It is clear how valuable the book would be, both to the Arcanum and to you. Claudia breaks in. We'll do it. Excellent. Goodbye, Lieutenant Gronum, and Godspeed. He's so annoying. Claudia's excited. This could be huge. Mad Jack Dunbar's name seems to come up all the time, looking into stories about the beast. His journal might be very interesting. Especially if it gives us tips on killing the fucking things he hunted, Daniel puts in. Kitty shakes her head, but she too sees the potential. The main thing is what the Arcanum can do for us if we get it for them. They have resources that could help us a great deal. It's the whole reason why we're even talking to them, because they are so very annoying. You like the old man? I'm playing him off as annoying. Playing off as someone who likes to hear himself talk. Everyone agrees that you should be the one to try and retrieve the documents, of course. Fleming Dunbar would find it suspicious if a group of 4 arrived to bid for the journal, but the others will stay nearby at a guest house in Ravensdale. They will be on hand if negotiations fall through and you need help. You call the number for Maiden Hill that Tottenham gave you. It rings for a long time before a suspicious male voice answers. This is Ralph Fleming Dunbar. What do you want? You tell him the cover story you agreed on, that you represent a wealthy London book collector who wishes to obtain Mad Jack Dunbar's journal. Fleming Dunbar snorts. Another one? Well then, why not? Come and stay the weekend. I hope you can shoot. I can't, actually. When Eamon the werewolf was coming at me, I didn't shoot at all. He's just excited about knowledge, yeah. Liam's a soldier with not a whole I think I have not a whole lot of intelligence. Low charisma, low intelligence. Liam doesn't see the appeal. The arrangements are made. It's agreed that you'll make the drive up to Ravensdale tomorrow in 2 cars, your Jeep and Daniel's work car. His personal Tesla is still in Wicklow. Trash it. The others intend to go to bed, but it occurs to you that you might have an advantage in the negotiations tomorrow if you do some research on Ralph Fleming Dunbar and the cult he formed. Given their history with Fleming Dunbar, the Arcanum surely have relevant material in their archives, or perhaps there might be something about him online instead, although if any of the powers that be have alerts for his name being entered on any search engine, that might draw their attention. What will you do? I'm gonna go to the Arcanum chapter house and ask to consult their archives. Yeah. The great doors at front gate are closed for the night by the time you arrive, but you hammer on them until a porter opens up and eyes you. ID, he says. Only students and staff with rooms on campus are allowed in after the gates close. To your frustration, you are unable to persuade him that you have a legitimate reason for being on campus. Tottenham doesn't pick up your calls. You face a long walk back to Daniel's, flat through the rainy, dark streets of Dublin. Time you get back and wash off the rain with a hot shower, you only have a couple of hours of sleep. Womp womp, you suck, Liam. Early the next morning, after a quick breakfast, the 4 of you split up as planned. Daniel, Claudia, and Kitty go off to collect his other car while you take off in the Jeep. A heavy gray rain is falling as you leave Dublin and drive north. Ooh. I'll turn on the news while I drive. I will listen to one of Claudia's podcasts. I'll drive in silence. Not drive in silence. I want to drive in silence and listen to the wind that blows between the holes in my head. In between my ears. It is just before noon when you arrive at Maiden Hill, an imposing 17th century whitewashed house built in a neoclassical style, with a sloping lawn to the left of the house and stables and a walled garden to the right. You drive past the lodge and up the drive, which winds through somber woodland to the house. Stepping out of the car, you look uncertainly about. Come in, you're the Londoner, aren't you? The door's unlocked. Come in, for God's sake. The irritable shout comes from a ground floor window on the left. You push open the heavy front door and find yourself in a grand hallway terminating in a sweeping staircase. There is an open door immediately to your left, and beyond it, a sitting room furnished in a heavy, forbidding style. Inside, an old man sits by an ancient 3-bar electric fire. He is evidently your host, Ralph Fleming Dunbar, a tall, cadaverously thin man with disconcertingly bright blue eyes. The room is adorned with hunting trophies, the glassy-eyed heads of deer, the tails of foxes. It is very cold in the room. Fleming Dunbar's tiny electric fire is the only source of heat. Fleming Dunbar grins at you, a flash of yellow death's head teeth. I don't know what that means. I know what yellow teeth mean, but I don't know what death's head means. Hunting, there's nothing like it, nothing at all in the world, don't you agree? Fleming Dunbar ignores your blank look and simply carries on. Foxes will give you some good sport, they're cunning animals, but in the end they're too predictable, no matter how wild a hunt they lead you on. In the end, they'll always go around in one of the places they know best. I wish we could still hunt wolves in this country, like my revered ancestor Mad Jack Dunbar. He did his work all too well. He understood, you know. Underneath all of our civilized affectations, we're still just beasts, ridiculous, hairless apes wearing suits and ties. If we have to be beasts, we can either be predators or meek, inoffensive herbivores. We eat or we are eaten. I made my choice a long time ago, and I have the trophies to prove it. Ah, again the savage grin. Maybe. I doubt you do very well against the things I hunt. Why would I say that to him? I don't know. Curiously, Fleming Dunbar seems more intrigued than angered. Great. Is that so? He asks you, suddenly much more interested. The old man changes topic. Your employer isn't the only one interested in my ancestor's book. There's some species of lawyer here, he says the word with a sneer. She represents some Dublin company, if you can believe it. Is it Fada's company? Fada, he says a voice. A small, well-dressed South Asian woman with a quick and clever dark eyes steps into the room. My name's Lena Singh. I'm here to represent Fada in this matter. You must be Liam Groen. She looks at you consideringly. Someone told me how to say this appropriately, but I don't remember anymore. The Mulcahy has mentioned you. I am most interested to know what party it is you are representing. Perhaps a compromise is possible. I doubt it. My client wants this book. Lena shrugs. We shall see. Fleming Dunbar seems bored and irritated the moment that he is no longer the center of attention in the conversation. Well, you can thresh that out as you like. I'm going shooting. Lena announces that she's going to retire to her room to look over some papers. What will you do? I'm going to go shooting. Let's go shooting. I feel like if he likes me, he'll give me the book. I'm going to go shoot him. Shoot him, not shoot him. Shoot with him, not shoot him. Maybe. We'll see. Fleming Dunbar loans you a 12-gauge shotgun and a pair of mud-encrusted boots, and you meet him outside a few minutes later. A pair of lean brown spaniels, gun dogs, play about his feet. Seeing you, they race over to nuzzle your hands and press themselves against your legs. Fleming Dunbar does not comment, but you can tell that the dog's affinity for you impresses him favorably. You get into Fleming Dunbar's car and drive to where the shoot will take place, a stretch of open country above the woods. A crowd of mostly elderly people, clearly of the same class as Fleming Dunbar and armed and dressed in the same way, have gathered, staking out their places along the tree line. Stupid birds. Pheasants, Fleming Dunbar comments. Stupid trusting birds. We feed them and shelter them and give them the run of our woods, so they must start to think of themselves as our plump, happy, feathered children. And then, he smiles, then pheasant shooting begins. There's no skill involved, of course. It's not like hunting a fox, an animal that can think. But there's a certain satisfaction in the sheer ease of killing things that stupid, that innocent. Gilles de Rais must have felt something similar. It's almost as easy shooting pheasants, as Fleming Dunbar suggests. They really will run out straight in front of you, unaware of what a gun even is. But you need quick reflexes to shoot them down. Once they've taken flight, there's only a few seconds to gun them down. But you manage to hit almost every pheasant you shoot at. I would imagine so. I have, like, what's my firearms? Like, crazy high, right? Yeah. Imagine so. You manage to hit every single pheasant you shoot at, with the dog scampering around to recover your kills. Fleming Dunbar is clearly impressed with your shooting skills when you return to the house a few hours later. Give me the book. After lunch, a depressing collation of cold dishes, Lena approaches you and invites you for a walk along the southern terrace, protected from the drizzle by the eaves of the house. I don't know who you are representing in this matter, she says, but I think an arrangement could be made. My clients, whom I know are known to you, have virtually unlimited funds. Unfortunately, that may be irrelevant. Fleming Dunbar dislikes me, Lieutenant Groen. He dislikes me, and I find it hard to conceal my distaste for him. I suspect that no matter how much I offer for the journal, he will turn me down. Good. Lena explains her proposal. If you can persuade Fleming Dunbar to sell your client the journal instead, Fada is prepared to immediately buy it from you at the price they offered Fleming Dunbar. You suspect that the Arcanum would not sell this journal under any circumstances, but you would be guaranteed Fada's goodwill if you did the deal this way. I don't want to. I don't like... The twins creep me out more than the Arcanum people. You ever feel like the only most stable people are... You ever feel like the most stable people are in this part of the country? I know, right? I don't... Maybe. I don't really want to sell it to you. I don't like them. They're like weird... They're like... Their main goal is to like breed out all bad genes, and it's very eugenics-like, and I don't like them. They're creepy. I'd rather be with the weird wizard people. Lena laughs. Yes, that would be the first step. Soon afterwards, the shadows lengthen and another heavy downpour begins. Fleming Dunbar calls you both into the sitting room for drinks. An impressive array of spirits has been laid out, and Fleming Dunbar is busy mixing. Golden Dawns, he says. Orange juice, apricot brandy, gin, cavados, and just a dash of grenadine. Here. I don't drink, says Lena. Well, no one's gonna like you. Fleming Dunbar grimaces. Of course you don't. I'll pour you an orange juice. He looks at you. Yeah. Yeah, I'll drink it. I'm not gonna like chug it, but I'm gonna drink it. Fleming Dunbar is far too self-involved to notice you are not drinking as heavily as he is. Good. I don't really want to get drunk in the stranger's house. Not for me. That's a lot of... I highly doubt he eats any of the pheasant, honestly. Because literally they were like, they went shooting and then they had lunch. There's a bunch of cold dishes. So he's obviously not cooking them. Obviously probably doesn't know how. Can't afford to have a chef there since he's eating only cold dishes. Yeah. Like, growing up, my father had a pheasant that he had stuffed and it was in our living room. And I hated looking at it because it reminded me that it was a dead bird in our house. Yeah, he probably just chucks them somewhere. Because he sounds like a terrible person. The rain is now falling in a heavy, drenching cloudburst. Fleming Dunbar looks up at the ceiling thoughtfully. Haven't repaired the roof since the 90s, you know, he says. Tiles missing, it'll be leaking into the attics and walls in half a dozen places, weather like this. Hey-ho, what's a little more rot in this house? I don't have the money to repair it, and at the age of 89, I wouldn't be much of an investment. This whole place is going to my cousins in Australia after I die, and I cordially despise the lot of them. I hope your will is in good order, Lena says coldly. Fleming Dunbar ignores her. Speaking of family, he says, I'd like to propose a toast to my revered ancestor Mad Jack Dunbar, to the Beast of Glenkildove. You start, and he chuckles dryly. Oh yes, I'm aware of the various idiotic superstitions about the beast down in Wicklow. Take it from one who knows. Mad Jack was the beast, and the beast was he. He was a hunter, you know, and like all hunters, he had more in common with the beasts he preyed on than humanity. Humanity disgusted old Jack Dunbar, I should know. I've read his journal. The filthy, ignorant, resentful Catholic peasants who worked his fields, the prim, repressed Protestant ascendancy in Dublin, he hated them all. He was a wolf, he was a beast, and he hunted the greatest beasts of all, the kind that they had back then. The only things that could equal him in strength and cunning. He looks at you shrewdly. I know you know whereof I speak. He talks about them in his journal. The werewolves, the glorious beasts, magnificent predators. How I would love to stalk one myself. Yes, I would be very curious to see that myself. Please sell me the journal. Please sell me the journal. Yeah, oh, deer head. La, la, la. I hate it. No. I'm very against hunting for sport. It's late by now, almost 1 o'clock. With a typical abruptness, Fleming Dunbar suddenly announces that he is going to bed. Oh God, please sell us the book. You go to your own room, a cold and dusty bedroom on the second floor. Suddenly your phone rings. It's Claudia. Liam, you've got to get out of there. The Duffy gang are coming tomorrow. I've been keeping an eye on things in Ravensdale. Ray and Deco just checked into the guest house here, along with 4 or 5 other North Side lads. I think they had guns under their coats. I don't think Ray saw me, and why would they be here? And we've been keeping out of sight in our room ever since. It can't be a coincidence. They're coming to Maiden Hill. Noriko must want the journal as well, and she sent her boys to recover it. Why would she want the journal? I'm so confused. You've got to get it and get out of there before tomorrow morning. Your heart sinks at the thought of another sleepless night. You are very tired, but you think you can power through this. Ooh. I don't care that my GeForce Game Ready driver is available. You're blocking me. Stop it. Your heart sinks at the thought of another sleepless night. You're very tired, but you think you can power through this. Mad Jack Dunbar journal is hidden in the house, but you don't know where. Gotta get it. Get it. Okay. Okay. I think he likes me. I think he likes me. I'm going to try... Yep. I'm going to go to his room and try and find a way... I don't want to do persuasion because my charisma's not good. But I'm going to try and force him to give me the journal. Give me the journal. My charisma's really bad. You make your... Right? It's like 2 or something. Yeah, charisma's bad. I don't think I have anything in persuasion. 1. But I have 3 in intimidation and stuff. So let's do it. You make your way out of your wing of your house along the creaking dark halls and stairways to Fleming Dunbar's first floor room. You knock on his door, underneath which light shines through. Fleming Dunbar gives an irritable assent, and you step inside. He is in a ratty gray dressing gown, a little cap, and holding a candle. Sitting with a bottle of gin. He is bleary-eyed. The alcohol he has consumed tonight seems to finally be taking its toll. What do you want? I need the journal. I don't have much time. Give it to me. Fleming Dunbar sneers, not looking up from the gin and tonic he's mixing. Or what? You'll kill me? Spare me a few more miserable years left in this disintegrating house, in this mess of a country? You'd be doing me a favor. Fine. He's not bluffing. Physical intimidation will not work on this bitter old man. Damn it. But maybe there is some way to get through to him. You think it through. But you can think of nothing. A man like Fleming Dunbar must have a whole host of dark secrets, but you have not succeeded in unearthing any of them. He grins at you. Didn't expect that, did you? Right, now fuck off out of my house. God damn it. Damn. Within a quarter of an hour, you're in the small town of Ravensdale, pulling up outside the guest house. I bet there's so many achievements I'm missing because I suck. Where the others are staying. At this time of night, the lights are off. It's staff gone home for the night. Claudia meets you in the parking lot and takes you up to her room where Daniel and Kitty are waiting for you. Claudia frowns. That means Deco will get the journal, which means Noriko will get it. Whatever she wants with it, it can't be good. Yeah, says Daniel thoughtfully, but maybe there's something we can do about it. Everyone looks at him inquiringly. His eyes are glowing with the same familiar, almost mischievous light you saw on the day of Sister Judith's hunt back in Wicklow. Deco and friends will be coming back here, he says. They left their van in the parking lot. When they come back, they'll have the journal. We could ambush them here, take the journal from them. As they're getting into the van, I crash my car into them, have everyone else ready, we pile into the Jeep, and we're all off to Dublin before they even know what hit them. Claudia looks wary. Remember who they're working for. Vampires are not good enemies to make. Do they even know they're working for Noriko? Wonders Kitty. And do they know what she is? And what she must have done to Michael Duffy? Yeah, she obviously ghouled him. Maybe if we talk to Deco and explain what's really going on, he would want to change sides. What will you do? No. You think you could scare me? I'm too old and grumpy for that. I mean, fair. I should have seen that coming. This is the worst. All right. I'm going to do this. No, this is the stupidest decision I could possibly make of these 4 decisions. I think Kitty's suggestion has merit. Never does Kitty's suggestion have merit. I'm going to wait for Deco and his people to come back and tell them the truth about the monster who's killed her. Yeah, I'm going to do that one because that's so stupid. Up, it gets me killed. I think you're throwing away our best chances of getting that fucking book, Daniel grumbles, but Kitty is clearly pleased that you are taking a non-violent approach. None of you think there is much likelihood of Deco and his people actually returning to the hotel room they booked, so you wait for them on the street in front of the parking lot. This is such a bad decision. It's so stupid. Taking shelter from the drizzling rain in a doorway. An hour or so in, you hear howling coming from the woods and then shots being fired in the distance, the sound muffled by the rain. What was that? Asks Kitty, but she already knows. Claudia shakes her head. It was the werewolves. It must be. They must have heard about Mad Jack's journal. Whatever he talks about in it, I'm betting he reveals some stuff about them and their weaknesses they don't want to be public knowledge. They must have attacked Deco and his friends on their way back from Maiden Hill. God knows what will be left of them. Maybe they won't be coming back at all. An hour later, it is only Ray and Deco themselves, I believe, who come running down the street as though hell itself were behind them, and Ray is stumbling on his feet, his face a mask of blood. There is no sign of gangsters they brought with them. The werewolves must have killed them in the woods, but Deco is clutching a heavy, leather-bound book. You step out of the shadows to block his path. Deco recognizes you. Liam Groen, he says. He speaks with a flat, weary tone, a man who has seen hell tonight. I should have known you'd be turning up tonight, with all this spooky fucking horrible shite raining down on us. Eee. They're one entity, clearly. Yeah, well, that's, that's my personal theory. At least the werewolves aren't ripping you apart. I mean, that's true. That's true. They could be ripping me apart, which, I'm also into. I'm also into dying a grisly death. You're working for a monster, Deco, not for Mike Duffy. He's just a puppet, and I think you know it. On some level, at least, but you might not know that there are people who can help you get free from her. Deco listens unblinkingly, his expressionless face giving you no clue as to what he is thinking as you explain the truth about Noriko, whom he knows as, Sorcy? I don't know how to say that word. Sorsha, I think. Deco shakes his head. It's easy to get lost in all this spooky shite, but this feels like a con to me. He draws his gun. Now get out of my way. We're going back to Dublin. I never want to set foot into this fucking town again. You have no option but to step aside and let them drive off. I told you that was a terrible idea, Kitty. Up yours. I'm never listening to you again unless you come up with an equally stupid idea that I actually have to try. The others take Daniel's car while you return to your Jeep. It is during the long drive back to Dublin that you find your mind dwelling on something Fleming Dunbar said yesterday, as he boasted about his fox hunting days. You find yourself picturing Cormac as a fox, frantically trying to escape the baying of hounds and the whinnies of horses scrabbling through the undergrowth. Foxes will give you some good sport. They're cunning animals, but in the end, they're too predictable. No matter how wild a hunt they lead you on, in the end, they'll always go to ground in one of the places they know the best. And then you know. You know with a certainty that can only come from the fact that you've been turning it over in your mind for so long. What, he's in the cave? When you get back to Dublin, it is early in the morning. The others are waiting for you in the living room, the scent of fresh coffee in the air. They look up as you arrive, curious at the excitement on your face. What is it, Liam? asks Kitty. I know where Cormac is, you tell them. I know where he's been all along. In the cave? I imagine in the cave. By surviving the hunt this far, you have learned to grow stronger. Yeah, I could spend some points. I don't know. How many points do I have? I have 12. Well, can't do anything there. Can't make my socials any higher. Can't make my mentals any higher because I'm not smart enough. My physical skills, to raise my firearms to 4. I could do. Oh god, I really don't know. I'm always so bad at these. I'm really always so bad at these. That's my mentals. Let's raise my awareness. Yeah, let's raise my awareness. And that's good enough for now. Boom! That's so short. So freaking short. The children of something or other. All right, so... yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow to read Chapter 7, The Children of Lear. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see if we're just going to go back to the cave. It's kind of like we went all over the place and we should have just went into the cave, but that would have been really scary for everybody. Yeah, so I'm going to read more of this tomorrow. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. Can't wait to make more stupid decisions. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.